I'm Will Hedrick.
And I'm Jordan Schaffer.
And this is Dog Ears and Timestamps, a Game of Thrones podcast.
So, dude, how'd you watch it? Would you watch it immediately when it came out with the rest of the world?
No, because I was working until 8, so whenever it airs, and then whenever I got home, I was waiting for food, and then I started watching it.
Nice.
So I was a little bit late.
Yeah, Mom gave me her password to her HBO Go, and for whatever reason, I always have bad luck with HBO Go, and using my mom's account, because you have to use a phone number, and then they text the phone number and tell them a code, and linking it with my Xbox is always frustrating. So I always wait for my brother to put it on his website or his Plex server.
Oh yeah,
and I'll watch it an hour or two after it came out.
Mm-hmm.
But what I watched before Game of Thrones is actually the Spider-Man movie that you told me about.
Oh, Into the Spider-Verse?
It was awesome.
Dude, that is one of I think that's the best superhero movie of all time.
I was watching it with that in mind, and I was like, this is so good, dude. This is it was fun to watch the whole time. I
went and watched it twice in theaters, and I hate going to movie theaters.
I know, man. That's awesome. And
I bought it on 4K. I need to watch it again, but yeah, that movie's awesome.
Yeah, so I watched.
So you were watching that, waiting for Game of Thrones to be ready.
While the rest of the world was watching Game of Thrones, and then after, because I had watched the last 3 or 4 episodes. It was 4, 5, 6, and 7 of season 7, and it just to kind of prep myself for this season, because I've read the books a bunch. But even then, just talking a little bit beforehand, obviously, a lot of details are lost in the years.
Right. It's because it's been over 600 days since the last season.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
So that's a long time to hold on to whatever it is that happened. And really not a whole lot happened in the last season anyways.
No.
Certainly not relative to seasons previous.
Yeah, and that was interesting to see, rewatching it too, because I remember not liking this season 7 as much for some reason, and then rewatching it, it was way more fun. It just felt a lot was going on, a lot was happening. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was because I was by myself and I was reconnecting, all these lines and getting back into Game of Thrones and be like, oh yeah, this is symbolism for whatever, they. At least with the show, knowing how much there is in the book behind in the thought of the character or whatever, that they're in the internal dialogue or whatever, they have a lot of symbolism in the show that you kind of have to read into. And I noticed a lot of that in the new episode. At least there was one point specifically that I think they say I think it was when Bronn was talking about how he battles smell like shit because when you kill people they shit. And he's and I learned that lesson when I was 5. And I was oh, because he killed somebody when he was 5. And Bailey was no, he just learned it when he was 5. So I'm I think he was trying to say he killed somebody when he was 5. But that's not exactly the scene I was talking about. But there was a lot of little things like that, kind of oh, the exact scene I was thinking of, still with Bronn, it showed a big change in his character. This is last season, season 7, when he saves Jaime. Yeah. And it's they're fighting in the war. Because it shows his purse or whatever. He falls off of this horse and his purse falls and all the money dumps out of it. And it shows that rather than just go for the money and run like he would have done beforehand, growing up a sellsword, knowing his character from just being his character that he always was, because literally that's how Tyrion got him on his side in the first place, saying fight for me, I have money.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it was cool because in that one scene showing him leaving the purse on the battlefield showed that he realized okay, I'm not going to run from this. I have to protect these people because I won't get anything out of it at the end. It was just kind of neat because he chose the Lannisters rather than himself, which I thought was a big character development for him. But because he didn't pick the money. He very easily could have grabbed the money and left that battle and probably lived. And he's still alive. But he could have ran from the battle, and I think he would have had it been season 2 that this happened. It's just interesting to me because they made a huge deal out of this purse falling and money falling out of it, and then him looking at it and being and then he goes and saves Jaime instead of saving the money and himself, which in turn saved himself. But I don't know. It was just interesting because in the book they would have probably explained that, whereas in the show it left some for our interpretation to have to kind of okay, I think that was some character development and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I I don't know. This is good. I liked this new episode. It seemed like it was kind of setting the scene really well.
I don't know if I'm just excited to be back in it. The last time that we've talked, the last couple times that we've talked about Game of Thrones in this setting, we're just kind of shitting on Game of Thrones because as a show, it's not as good as it once was, and in my opinion, doesn't have half of the balls that it used to have to do, unexpected and subversive things with the storytelling. But even with all that still being true, in my opinion, there's nothing else like Game of Thrones still on TV. There's nothing that is this high budget and well directed and acted. The writing is whatever, but that is in a fantasy setting.
Dude, I remember season 1, my brother was telling me each episode cost like $500,000 to make. And that's like a TV show. It's like a series. That's $5 million just for like the debut season, hoping this show's gonna bite, and everybody's gonna be hooked. Like, they knew they had gold, but they just didn't know that like the rest of the world was gonna see it as gold, I guess. Like, they knew they were working with good material, but it's just crazy to me to think that like we're at the end of the era, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they're like, I feel like some of the liberties they took for the like the cinematic vision or whatever, like to see it on film, like some of the liberties they did take, I think were really good throughout this season. Like, not the past seasons, because like they fused characters together, and they just like, they would have one character that kind of served the purpose of what he would end up telling you a backstory about, like some offshoot bastard or whatever. And it's like, you didn't need that offshoot bastard. You just turn it into Gendry instead, and then it's the bastard we know, and it's it's just stuff like that I think they did a really good job with, because there are already so many names to take in that it was cool seeing Jay. It was cool. I think it was a lot of nostalgia for me, why I'm so like excited that it's back. It's like the end of an era. It's those actors had to sit on like the ending like for years. Like, they know how it ended, and they're contractually probably obligated to not talk about it.
Right. Well, they probably, at the very least, any individual actor, I'm sure, only knows so far as their character goes. Even if their character is not dead at the end, if their character isn't in the last episode, they probably don't know what happens in the last episode. Because that's how they control storylines like that.
Interesting.
So, like, just, if we speculate that Arya isn't in the last episode for whatever reason, even if her character's alive, but in the episode prior to that, she decides that she's going to take off and go back to Essos for whatever reason. She's like, well, I don't want any part of this fight anymore. I'm going back to Essos. Then, if I was, running the show, I would make sure that Maisie Williams doesn't know what happens in the last episode, because she's got no business knowing what's in the last episode.
Makes sense.
And that's how you control the story from leaking.
God, that's good. I mean, there's still a couple people that know, obviously. They had to film
whoever it is that's in the last shot, unless it's CGI Night King and only CGI Night King.
The Night King is
that would be the ultimate way to control it, is just have no actors.
Right? It's all CGI.
But, so, I guess this episode, just like most first episodes for most seasons of most TV shows, is a lot of setup, everybody getting back together, getting ready for whatever it is that's going to happen next. The title of the episode was held back until like after the show aired. Even you couldn't even see it like on like TV Guide or whenever you opened it up in the app for the first like 2 hours. That's it just said episode 68.
That's smart.
The name of the episode is just Winterfell. God,
winter had fallen.
Yeah, it was just the name of it was just season 8, episode 1, Winterfell. Like, okay, yeah, great fucking secret.
Yeah, it's a lame ass title. Yeah, they should have called it fucking The New Aegon or whatever.
Right, like what was gonna be like revealed by hiding that? What was gonna be revealed by hiding that title for so long?
We already know the Starks have Winterfell.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
unless they lose it again.
Yeah,
that would be a bummer.
So episode 1, Winterfell. Everybody's in Winterfell. Go fucking figure, I guess. We see everybody. The episode opens up with Jon and Dany riding into Winterfell, and then
on horses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then some interactions with like the lords, and everybody's upset that Jon is not the king anymore, and they don't want to trust Dany, and Jon's like, y'all keep fucking being upset about this, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
We gotta fight the dead people.
Yeah.
Y'all don't get it. That's just like the constant fight is, how do we get everybody to just shut up? We gotta fight the dead people.
Right. Everybody's so self-serving, it's frustrating.
I can get sense, why they would be apprehensive towards Dany.
Yeah, I mean, she's a new person that they don't really have fealty to. Jon, they have loyalty.
Right. And now there's this, what I guess they're perceiving and, reasonably perceiving to be an invading army of foreign soldiers. Mm-hmm. Not even people from Westeros. It's all Unsullied and Dothraki. And, this Targaryen queen that... we know how everybody feels about the Targaryens. The last one tried to kill everybody.
Yeah,
this is just all people that probably they don't want to be in the North and don't have any reason to be in the North by the opinion of the Northerners. And now they don't even have their king anymore.
So racist.
So I get it, why they would be upset. But everybody does need to just say like, okay, well, let's go fight the dead.
How do you think...
On the other side of that coin, Dany is just like such like an idiot.
Dude, she makes me so frustrated.
The past like 3 or 4 seasons, I've been done with Dany, I think.
Yeah, and it's funny because I feel like so many other people are not, and so many people love her so much. Like, when she started to fail a little bit, like at the end of last season when I was rewatching it, I was like, yes! Like, the dragon got shot, and I cheered. And I know I was cheering for the bad guys, but it was like...
She hasn't had anything bad happen to her since Drogo died.
No, and she's kind of...
everything's been going pretty perfectly for her. Well, I mean, obviously she had to do all that shit like in the Waste when she was on her way over to the Far East or whatever.
But it's just... But her methods... we were talking about it before the show. It's like her methods just, to me, seem like the ends justify the means or whatever. But it's like, dude, you got to rule these people afterwards. Like, it's kind of like...
That's always like the conversation that she's always been having with her advisors. It's like she goes back and forth on what her methods are going to be. Mm-hmm. Like, is she always going to be the one that frees the slaves and saves everybody? Or is she going to be the one that makes the examples of the masters? Like, which one of these are you going to be? And she never seems to find the middle ground.
Well, it also kind of alludes to maybe she'll be true, like, full Targaryen and follow, like, the words of, like, her house, like fire and blood. Like, they don't even know for sure that she's going to be the breaker of chains still, because what chains does she have to break in Westeros? Now that they're worried that she's going to be just the like fire and blood, like she's worried, like, and that's what Jon specifically said, like, don't go get the kingdom back like this. You can win this way, yes. Like, you have like the cheat code, you have the game shark, like you can win, but you're gonna be a new leader leading from fear, and like that's not how you got here. Like, you got here by everybody pushing you forward. Like, all of her supporters and everybody were like pushing her forward, like making her, giving her the power and like the status and rank of being, what she was. And if she just takes it with her dragons, then I think she loses her like credibility to other people.
I think that she's so obsessed with becoming the queen of everything, really.
Right.
For whatever reason, she's just absolutely obsessed with that idea. And it's all an idea that was planted in her by Viserys, her brother, that she hated.
And he didn't want her to be queen. He was going to sell her
That's
off.
the only reason that she has the idea of, becoming the queen again, is just because it's something that Viserys always talked about and wouldn't shut up about, and that was their whole purpose, was to get the kingdom back.
Yeah, like, she wasn't even born, I don't think, in Westeros. Like, I think she was born on the run. Like, I think she's born on the run, though, still. Like, maybe not.
Well, she was, I don't remember exactly, but she was born, especially as Daenerys Stormborn, she was born during some storm that was happening. Oh. And then very, very shortly after was whenever the rebellion happened. Mm-hmm. And her and Viserys were smuggled out by whoever,
by
Varys,
spider,
right?
Think,
the spider arranges it, yeah.
Yeah, Varys.
But in any case, so she's like, her only reason for wanting to become queen is because as she grows up, she learns all of this stuff from Viserys. who, you know, is awful to her and who she, you know, probably doesn't like beyond any, you know, filial bond. And then, so she's just obsessed with it. Like, she doesn't think of beyond that. The smart thing would be, certainly when she sees all the dead, be like, yeah, we should probably just kill all the dead. And Jon, you are obviously a worthy person. You should just go ahead and remain king in the North. That's okay. I just won't be queen of the North. Like, y'all can be another kingdom here in Westeros, and I'll go take the South from the Lannisters who betrayed my family. You know, like,
right.
That's, I guess, a legitimate vendetta. But why does she have to make Jon bend the knee? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And so I'm just tired of Dany because she doesn't have any, she seemingly doesn't have any convictions.
And Jon was so adamant about not bending the knee too, like all last season. For him to do it so like quick just seems like, did you just give up? Like, because he was like adamant about not bending the knee for her for a while, right?
I don't remember that explicitly, but and you know, maybe he said that he wouldn't do that, blah blah blah. But then she shows up. And she's got the dragons, and she saves his life. I think that's how they meet, is whenever Dany goes to save him from, you know, that fight or whatever that happens beyond the wall. I don't think they had met prior to it.
They had met because he had to ask her for all the dragon glass because they were mining for dragon glass under that place that the iron. No, what's the Stannis' old place?
Oh, yeah, you're right. At Dragonstone. I totally forgot about that part.
And Jon needed to go to Dragonstone to get weapons to kill.
You're right.
And
I totally forgot. Yeah.
They met. She starts crushing hard. I'm just kidding. No, but it feels kind of like she starts crushing on him hard. And then, they just start mining dragon glass. And then they go back north, and I remember, it's eerily soon after he says like, don't just go blasting in with your dragons, you know, and then Jon has to go to the north to like, because they need to convince Cersei.
Yeah, so they go get like a wipe. What else happens? Well, we see it's all connections, like we already said. Tyrion and Sansa have a fun conversation.
It's just reuniting like all the families that we had known before, but back in Winterfell, like we did in season 1, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
because they're all grown.
There's a lot of kind of almost shot for shot recreations of the first episode,
and I think they did that to show Arya and Sansa having grown up. Because the last time they were there was when the actress was literally a little girl. So like I think they did a few shots to kind of show like, look, they've grown up, things have changed.
It's not even just the two of them growing up, or just the changes in the two of them, but just the changes in how everything is different now. Yeah. Because it's Jon and Dany coming in the same way that Robert and Cersei come in the first episode. And all the Starks are lined up, but now all the Starks are just Sansa and Bran. Mm-hmm. Arya sulking around somewhere, being little assassin Arya, and now it's Jon going to go greet the line of Starks, which is just the two of them, and all the Bannermen are there too. Like you see the little girl from Bear Island, who everybody loves. And
everybody loves her for some reason. Just
because she's a hard ass. Yeah. And she's like a little, at least now she's older because it's been several years, but whenever everybody's getting assembled, she's the first North Bannerman that agrees to follow Jon and name him king in the North.
And then she's like,
she like shames everybody else and stuff like that.
When he like kind of gives
relinquishes the title or whatever. What else?
Jon rides a dragon. We learn that he's like, he officially learns straight up from... Did Bran tell him?
Sam tells him, and later on. Yeah. Closer to it's like the second from last scene in the show, I think. Yeah, that was... Or the episode. Jon gets to ride a dragon, and you would think that might tell him something, but he's always a little slow on, whatever reveal is happening.
I expected to see Ghost...
Yeah, we haven't seen Ghost yet. Probably because for the same reason that Ghost wasn't in the Battle of the Bastards, was that they wanted to put the Giant in the battle, and they only had so much budget, and they're like, well, we can either have Ghost in, or we can have the Giant. So let's have the Giant because that's way cooler. And they spent all the CGI on dragons this episode, so we don't need to see Ghost this time.
I know, but it's just the main reason, I guess, the main and only reason I kind of want Ghost back is because it reconnects Jon with like the old gods, like the like, you know how there were like the old gods and then there were the seven, and then now there's like the Lord of Light. There was a big thing that doesn't matter at all anymore, but before we knew that Jon got resurrected by the Lord of Light or whatever, like there was a big fan conspiracy like that
he would have warged into Ghost.
That he would have warged into Ghost, or that, and then Bran was going to bring him back into his body,
right?
Like, because they could resurrect people, or because of the Night's King or whatever, and I guess I just want some sort of like. I guess I want Jon to be like rewarded for like his loyalty to the old gods. I know that's silly and probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it seems like he always chooses that route, like the route of like the old gods, or the way like his supposed dad would have done it. You know, Ned would have done it.
Yeah,
the noble way.
He really honors Ned a lot, which is, I mean, I guess that's just his character. That's also just the North in general.
That's true,
but. We do get a shot of him standing at a heart tree, the heart tree there in Winterfell, and that's when him and Arya get reunited.
Yeah.
And Arya stands up for Sansa because Jon is still like, what does Jon say? He says Sansa thinks that she's smarter than everybody else, thinking that, you know, he'll just have like a little joke with Arya about Sansa like they used to, but and Arya's like, no, she's actually pretty fucking dope, dude. Like, you don't know anything.
You know nothing.
You know nothing, Jon Snow. And then we get... There's a couple of times where we get like 2-for-1 reunions that are kind of funny. Like when Arya goes to the smithy and meets both the Hound and Gendry again. And I was like, 2-for-1.
Yeah, got it, 2-for-1.
And Arya wants Gendry to build her some weird, like, detachable dragon glass weapon thing.
Yeah, it made me think of like in Assassin's Creed when they have that like... the secret dagger or whatever.
Oh, the hidden blade, yeah.
From their wrist.
Right.
But one that would...
It seems to
with the spring action or
with
whatever,
like
it shoots it.
Yeah, right. I don't know what her plan is for that.
Yeah.
That'll obviously come up later on. It's total Chekhov's gun thing. Who else do we get? We get...
Tyrion doesn't get a lot of, like... I feel like they've almost written the cleverness out of him.
There wasn't
a
lot of conniving that needed to happen in this episode.
And there doesn't seem to be much left. It seems like he's almost kind of... It almost just feels to me like Tyrion has lost sort of some of his, like, his pizzazz, or, like, the spark that made him, like, so unique and smart. And
we're kind of done with all the diplomacy at this point. There's no...
I guess that's true.
There's no planning that needs to happen anymore. Like, all of last season was just all the stuff that he's not good at, like traveling and fighting. And now we're in Winterfell, and we get one scene of the three old men, like, you know, Varys and Tyrion, who have long been, like, the best duo almost in the show. And then also... the Onion Knight is with them, and he's now sort of like in an advisory role, like an unofficial advisory role, because, you know, he obviously advised for Stannis, and he's seen everything that happened there, and then he was at the Wall for a bit, and then now he's been with the Northmen for a bit, and now he's been brought into sort of the fold with Dany's group, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, they needed him to smuggle them back into King's Landing, right? So that Tyrion could talk to Jaime. Because they would never have had a meeting with Cersei otherwise.
Yeah, that's why he got re-involved or whatever, or whatever. And so the three of them are kind of like the potential like string pullers, where the you know, they'll be the ones in Dany's ear or whatever, you know. Tyrion's her hand.
Yeah.
But there's just one scene where the Onion Knight is like, we should get them married, and then that will bring the North into the fold with the South easily, because then now he'll be king, which is something that they would want to follow or whatever. But then that gets, you know, maybe that plan that planning by them plays out or whatever. But all that's left to happen is just fighting. There's nothing that is to Tyrion's forte at this point, which is all the thinking and the talking and, devious things.
Yeah.
Things that are for smart people.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted some of that, and there isn't any for him to do, so he's kind of almost powerless at this point.
Yeah.
And I don't like it.
He's the most popular character, if not Jon Snow.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to not have him do anything this whole season.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I just don't want him to just have like the one thing he did this season. Like I want it to be like, oh, here's what Tyrion does this season, not just like, okay, he did the one pivotal thing to get whoever onto the throne. And yeah.
I think the part of why I'm less excited for this season, and I've been less excited in an increasing amount for the past couple of seasons, is that the best part of Game of Thrones, in my opinion, was always all the diplomacy and all the talking and the figuring and the betrayals and the secrecy and all that sort of stuff, all the intrigue.
Yeah.
Is been waning because there are less and less characters. And so there's less and less interaction that has to happen. Because now it's just the North, the Lannisters, and Dany. Those are the only players. And they, the North and Dany are more or less on the side now.
Yeah.
And Cersei, and she's the only Lannister left aside from Tyrion. And obviously Jaime, who left her. We know where she stands. There's no convincing of her that needs to be done.
Yeah.
I guess the Greyjoys are sort of like an auxiliary party. Like, what are they going to do? I think that they know that they're going to... Because Theon comes out of nowhere and saves... what is she in the show? Yara?
Yara, yeah. She's Asha.
Asha in the book, yeah.
But that's already another character. Or it's
the same character. They just change her name for some reason.
Well, it's so close to... Because in the book, like, it's like Asha, and then there's that wildling lady that helps Bran escape, and her name is like Asher. And Osha. Yeah, so I think they were so close.
That they didn't want the confusion.
Because I'm already confused.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I'm pretty sure that's why they did that.
But anyway, so Theon goes and saves Yara, and then Yara, while they're sailing away, Yara's like, okay, well, we can go back to the Iron Islands and take that. Jon will need somewhere to fall back to if they can't hold Winterfell, so that's a good idea.
Yeah, and they definitely made it sound like being on a boat was safer than being on land.
Well, so we know the White Walkers can't cross water. Because that's been demonstrated more than once.
Yeah, literally, like, they were scared to walk across the ice to go kill those
guys. That's how they get away from them in Hardhome. And that's how they hold them at bay for a long time when they go beyond the wall. So if they go to the Iron Islands, one, they've got whatever is left of that part of the Iron Fleet that Euron didn't take. And then also their islands.
Well, so there's also the Bear Islands with that little girl. The little girl's island.
I think it's just one island.
It's probably...
They call it Bear Island. It's just like in the middle
of the... That's probably true. But it's an island. With,
but it's also north. So it's a little less convenient to get to.
But they are north. What do you mean?
Well, so Bear Island is north of Winterfell. It's like to the northwest.
Oh, I got you.
And everybody's already in Winterfell.
Yeah.
The only people that aren't in Winterfell are whoever's at the last hearth. Who was it? That family, the little kid who they send in the meeting. Like they're the only ones that weren't at the Winterfell or whatever, and then whoever's at Deepwood Mott. And so yeah, Bear Island doesn't make any sense as like a retreat location.
No, it doesn't really make much sense. Yeah, I mean it's hard to predict at all really what's going to happen this season just from the one episode, but it's
well, the dead are already on the way to Winterfell. It wouldn't surprise me if this next episode is like primarily in the south or something.
Okay.
And then the dead are there at Winterfell. Like, because they even give it away like in the intro, because it starts with the hole in the wall, and then it goes to the last hearth, and it shows that this ice path like flowing towards the last hearth, and then and then it cuts, and then it shows like the path to Winterfell from the last Hearth, so we can see that the show is moving, or something is moving in that direction. And then obviously we see what that literally means whenever we randomly cut to Beric Dondarrion and what's left of his little brotherhood showing up at the last Hearth and finding everybody there dead, and they meet up with what's left of the Night's Watch as well. Mm-hmm. And they see the little boy who was head of the house of the last Hearth or whatever, who had gone back there to retrieve everybody and come, retreat to Winterfell. He's dead or whatever. And so they're like, well, that means the White Walkers are here, and they're already on their way to Winterfell. So we need to get the fuck back there and let them know that they're on the way.
That's one thing that's thrown me off really bad this season, these last 2 seasons, was just that there was no sense of like time. So like when somebody would go somewhere, they'd be there like.
That was a lot of people's complaint that it just happened immediately, and everything was so fast now.
Yeah, everything just felt like it didn't feel like it could just go real quick back to Winterfell. You were stuck like at the wall for a long time. Like it didn't feel like it was easy to go back.
Yeah.
And now it kind of feels like it's so easy to get anywhere on the map.
Yeah, well,
and they're not even flying.
And I think that's a result of what we were talking about earlier, where now there's less players in the game.
Oh,
and
true.
so there's less to cut away to while people travel.
Yeah.
And there's less talking that needs to be done. The only thing that needs to be done at this point is action.
Yeah.
So, while they would have interesting conversations and be making interesting plans while they were traveling places in the past, there's none of that to be had. So we would literally just be watching them ride on a horse and maybe have like one quip at each other that we can smirk about. Yeah. It's totally pointless.
No.
Whereas it used to be way more useful in the past. So
yeah, the only thing I can think of is that they might do kind of like that is something small, like when Sam and Jilly were reading, and she was reading about all the different things that one maester was documenting in his journal or whatever, and they learn who John's parents are.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I could see something maybe like that being relevant again, like they're going to do something small, like with Arya, how she asked Gendry for the weapon, like that's going to be important. You're right, for sure. It's just going to be setting little things up like that, not necessarily cutting away to Sam and Jilly reading and then they figured that out,
right?
Which is what they used to kill the wait time with. It's more information.
Yeah. And that's about it that happens, right? The best shot of all is the last shot where Jaime rides in the Winterfell and then sees Bran, and he makes the best face. He's like, shit.
I
remember who you are.
Yeah.
It's like the exact perfect amount of timing. And this was such great acting on Jean Walter Cousteau's part of him seeing just some dude in a wheelchair and be like, oh, this in a wheelchair, that's kind of interesting. And then realizing who it is, and the transition of his face is just so perfectly timed.
Yeah.
Him being like, oh fuck, that's Bran Stark, the kid that I pushed out the fucking window. And I watched the episode twice, and the only thing that I gained by watching it a second time was whenever Sam goes to see, or he doesn't go to see Bran, but he gets the news from Dany that his brother and father are dead, mm-hmm. and kind of walks outside to get air or whatever, and sees Bran. He's like, what are you doing out here? And then Bran's just waiting for an old friend. And I didn't get that the first time. And then the second time I was like, he's waiting for Jaime. Jaime's showing up. So he needs to talk to Jaime about something, evidently. Otherwise he wouldn't care to wait for him outside.
Yeah. Man, dude, it is. I can't wrap my mind around Jon or Daenerys sitting on the throne.
Neither of them sees the throne, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Dany's gonna die.
I think Jon's gonna die too.
It seems weird for them to kill Jon twice, but maybe so. I feel like if Jon doesn't die, I feel like he just stays in the north. He's got absolutely no desire to go south and be king of the entire Seven Kingdoms.
Even
he didn't want to be
birthright.
He didn't want to be king in the north even.
Exactly.
He just did it to he figured that he was the only capable male Stark alive.
To that same
and so should be able to and should be there to unite the North. It was the only way that he could for sure unite the North and get them together to fight the dead people.
Yeah, I don't know if it was this show or if it was like Harry Potter, but it was like the ones who lead should be the ones who don't want to lead. And I want to say it was this show because it has a lot of silly old.
It sounds vaguely familiar. I just don't know.
Like something Ned would have said to him, like a real leader. Because Ned didn't want to lead. He was the second born in line.
Yeah, he had never expected to until.
And then his brother died, and then he married his brother's wife. Like his brother, like they never consummated the marriage, and they just moved him up.
Yeah.
And then so, like he never wanted to rule, but he was a good leader, and. I feel like that's probably something they would instill in him. So. Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's going to make it to the last episode. I don't think Tyrion's going to die for some reason. In my head, I see Cersei winning the throne. And then I see Jaime betraying her because that sounds poetic.
Yeah.
But I don't and I see Bran somehow killing the Night King with his
whatever magic he's got, yeah.
But other than that, it's like it's hard for me to wrap my head around who would actually be the one left sitting on the throne.
That does, I mean, and so that's the obvious obsession, right? Is who's on the Iron Throne, because that's what the whole show's been built upon. But maybe nobody does.
Honestly, dude, it might end that way, where nobody wins. Like, I know I was joking about it earlier, how the walkers or the whites were a parallel for the alien race infiltrating humanity, and it was symbolizing like a one world government forming because of a common enemy.
Mm-hmm.
I know I was making a joke about that, but that could very easily be like they all do join forces because they have a common enemy, and they get so badly like devastated like that they just have to make it through winter now, like.
Right.
It almost just feels like they could kind of write it off to where the kingdoms just sort of take care of themselves.
They just become individual kingdoms again.
Yeah, and maybe even the Tyrells come and take it back or whatever.
There are no Tyrells, though. All the Tyrells are dead.
Isn't the old lady still alive? Is she Tyrell? Oh.
Remember she drank all that poison before telling Jaime that she killed...
yeah, I do remember that now.
Whatever his name is. Shit boy. I can't remember his name right now.
Shit boy.
Joffrey, yeah. Jeez.
Yeah,
that was like the most badass scene of all time. But
that was a funny scene too in the when Sansa and Tyrion are like
reunited. It was like the last time we spoke was at the Joffrey's wedding, a miserable affair, and then Sansa's like, it had moments.
It had its moments.
Yeah, that was funny. I guess the only thing that's everything that happens in the episode.
Yeah,
I don't think we explicitly mentioned when Sam goes to tell Jon that he's, Aegon Targaryen, 6 with his name, all that. And
yeah,
Jon's like...
he shits a brick too when he hears that. He's like,
Jon's
fuck
like,
me.
Yeah,
what more responsibility?
I don't know what Jon's going to do with that knowledge. I don't know if he tells Dany. I feel like that's something that, at least for a very long time, Jon, doesn't tell anybody about.
That would be
that's like a last episode thing.
Yeah, that's
a last episode conversation that he has with Dany.
Yeah.
I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know, and I kind of don't care.
Yeah.
Like, whatever it is that happens, cool. Like I've been saying in the past few episodes, I think I'm just excited for it to be over more than anything. It's exciting to be back in it because, like I said at the top of the show, this is the only fantasy TV show at this level of production.
Yeah.
All the actors are very good. And a lot of the characters are, even if a lot of the writing kind of sucks now, the characters are still characters that I care about. And so it's interesting to see them, at least.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and the only time is going to tell, too, exactly how, George R. R. Martin was going to write it, and I don't think that I don't think they're going to stray too far from the actual ending that he has envisioned. I hope he still writes the books, I hope this doesn't kind of kill his tenacity to finish writing, but...
Yeah. I think I want him to finish the books. I don't know. It's everything is now so old and been so long in waiting that I think I've lost interest. Really? More or less, yeah.
Dang. Well, that's why we're podcasting about it, so we bring the interest back.
Right.
Because, yeah, man, even it's almost like we lost interest as we were talking about it, because we're breaking it down more and more, and it's like they give us just enough to keep us like totally guessing for the big question, like who's gonna win. Mm-hmm. But they're just gonna string us along, and it's, you know, I mean, of course they were gonna do it the whole time, but yeah, it's now that we're here, it's kind of just like I'm so ready to know. I want to know. Yeah,
it'll be good to finally have a conclusion to this very, very long story.
Yeah,
but hopefully it'll continue to be good, or at least enjoyable. There were parts last season that were just like, you know, not particularly enjoyable. And that then left me like not excited for whatever was going to happen the next week. Yeah. And then I just watched it because, you know, why wouldn't I watch it? But yeah, I think that one of the most interesting parts about this season is that all the episodes are in varying lengths, which means that they've got a very deliberate storytelling happening, which to me is a good thing, because that's something that hasn't happened for a couple of seasons. I feel like they've been kind of aimless, or just not even knowing what to do, which of course, yes, they ran out of content or source material. So yeah, I get it.
Filling in gaps.
But yeah, do better.
Do better. You have more guys than just the one.
This season, they're, you know, structuring the episodes in varying ways because they have specific storytelling that they want to do, which is good. Because now that they've got something that they want to do, if you want to do something, it's going to be inherently better, as opposed to just being like, we've got to fill this hour time block.
That's a great point. That'll be that could be completely like revolutionary for the last season of this show. Like that could really, really change like how it hits people. Like just give it, like if they only give us like 30 minutes next week, but just to tell us a more deliberate story rather than like, I know we talk about it all the time with anime, but like that's what makes some anime so good, is that they don't put fluff and filler in there. They have a deliberate telling that they're going for, and they're not gonna beat around the bush. But this one, yeah, and that's kind of, I think you're right. I think that's where they're headed with this season. Like they've got a very deliberate telling. They've got 6 episodes left to get it, to put a nice little bow on it, you know? And I have a lot of faith in them doing a good job. I think it's going to do really well. Like I think they're going to wrap it up real nice.
Well, you're more optimistic than I am. By a long shot.
I mean, dude, the show's just, I've had so much like faith with the show being so good. I mean, of course, we have already said it had its source material, but I just, man, dude, this is going to be wishy-washy every week. I'm going to be like, well, I bet, okay, Cersei's going to die, but.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that there's really too much point in trying to predict anything anymore. Or at least it's considerably less exciting than it used to be. Because again, there's only 3 parties, and 2 of them are closely allied at this point. The next episode is going to be about the same length. It's going to be 4 minutes longer than this week's episode. Episode 3 is 82 minutes. Episode 4 is 78 minutes. Episode 5 is 80 minutes. Episode 6 is 80 minutes. So a little less variance than I remembered reading.
Oh, there are only 6 episodes?
Yeah, there's only 6 episodes this year.
So we only have 5 left?
Yep, only 5 left.
Wow.
Let's see if that's... So we've got about 6 hours and 20 minutes left of Game of Thrones.
Okay. The only thing I can think of that, like, if I wanted to make, like, bold predictions, I would make a bold prediction that, like, Arya, she's already brought so much, like, unbalance to everything. Like, she brought down the name of the Faceless Men or whatever. She brought down the House of the Faceless Men, basically.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that she's going to be... Oh, dude, what if she kills Cersei as Jaime?
I mean,
dude,
that would be exciting.
Something crazy like that's gonna happen. That's gonna be my bold prediction, that that she does something bananas like that. Like she kills Cersei as Jaime in like in episode 5 or whatever. And
you definitely do
and Bran
have to feel like Arya kills at least one more person off her list. Although I think she's also over the list at this point because she's not a child seeking vengeance in the same way.
That's a good point. They did make... Bran brought up the list when he thought Arya was just... Because like when Arya and Sansa reunite, she was talking like, well, what have you been up to? And she's like, oh, just like working on my list. And she was like, oh, that's funny. Like a list of names of people you're going to kill. Like that's such a little girl thing. And then Bran's like, that like he's on her list. And she's like, oh shit, like you're serious about the list, I think she's still pretty into the list.
I think that she will... I think she probably like kind of holds herself to it to some degree, but she's not... I don't think she recites it at night every time she goes to sleep anymore.
I think that's... I want to say that she does, because I want to say that's how she never truly became no one, because of Nymeria, she would have her night dreams as a she-wolf, and then also because she said her list to herself every night. So she kept some sort of identity. Like she kept her little bit of identity, even when she was trying to become no one and lose her identity completely. Because she ends up like mastering like the art of like changing faces or whatever, and like she learns like basically what she went to the Faceless Men to learn. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't think that she feels the same way about it because of the things that she's seen and what she's been through. Because obviously the Hound was on her list for a really long time, but then she goes through so much with the Hound, and then doesn't even kill him when she finally has the chance to. She just leaves him, assuming that he's going to die.
Yeah, I mean...
And then she goes through all this stuff that she goes through over in Essos, learns that she's actually kind of nothing, and then she, goes through her, training at the House of Black and White, and then she comes back over. I think that more than anything, she grows up and experiences and learns more about life and existence than she could have ever imagined when she created the list. And so just her perspective on everything is so different that, even if she definitely wants to kill a couple of those people still, it's not the obsession that it used to be.
Okay.
Certainly now that she has pretty much like half of her family back.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
But she definitely kills at least one more person.
I think
off the list. It would be interesting to see her kill Cersei, because Cersei is definitely the last big bad of one, everything, and then two, her list. Mm-hmm. But I think that ultimately she just fucks off. I think maybe she has one more like critical role to play, and then she just leaves. I don't think she stays. Okay. She's not going to do anything in Westeros. Or I don't think she doesn't return to being a noble.
Okay. In my mind, for whatever reason, I have her killing Cersei, Jon not getting the throne. For some reason, like I feel like a Stark is going to be like the last one standing. Like Sansa is going to win the throne or something silly. I feel like Sansa's going to get the throne. Arya's going to be queen in the north. And like Daenerys just...
Arya would never even accept queen, though. Even if she was the last Stark standing, she wouldn't do it.
You don't think she'd be the last Stark in Winterfell?
No. I think that if it literally came down to her, because she literally would be the last Stark now that Rickon's dead, as far as age goes even, that would mean that the rest of them would have to be dead. And there'd be literally no reason for her to stick around if all of her family was gone. Certainly for a role that she never wanted to begin with.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
I think most everybody dies.
Yeah.
I think Tyrion dies. I think Dany dies. I think Arya either dies or disappears, and so as good as dead as, far as whatever continuing story there could possibly be. I don't think that Jon dies. I don't know what happens to Sansa. Varys doesn't die, because even if everything falls to shit in Westeros, he just goes to become the Spider somewhere else. The Onion Knight dies. Beric dies.
Yeah.
All of the Night's Watch die. The little girl from Bear Island dies.
Yeah. Those all seem like good guesses.
Cersei dies. Jaime dies.
I don't think Jaime dies.
Bronn dies. Bronn kills Jaime.
Okay.
Bronn kills Jaime and Tyrion. Because they were all such good fucking friends for such a long time.
I like that. That probably does happen.
Certainly now that it's his job to.
Yeah.
Assuming that he accepted that job from whatever his name is. The current hand to Cersei.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That fucking family. That was my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got. I can't even.
All the dragons die.
Yeah, no way is a dragon gonna make it.
The Night King and Jon become friends. They rule the North together.
They rebuild the wall.
Using the dead as building material.
I thought that for sure, if they didn't knock down the wall with the dragon, they were just gonna like World War Z it, and zombie pile over,
just ant pile over.
But yeah, dude, I liked most of those predictions with your death with your kill slot.
Who else is alive that I can kill? All the Greyjoys die, unless Euron just fucks off again. Because he even said that he would just fuck off again. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, if Cersei's going to lose, then I'll just fuck off again. I'll just take the Iron Fleet somewhere else like I did last time.
Yeah.
Because he's not in it for anything except for just to have fun. Yeah. He's just an agent of chaos. And he got to bang Cersei, so that's like just one check off his list that he was, excited about. He literally has nothing that he wants out of anything except to just fuck around.
Yeah.
So he'll probably just fuck off. If he doesn't get outright killed. Maybe Yara kills him.
That would be the cinematic way to do it, to end it poetically, like have Yara kill him. But, like, he'd probably win. Like, he'd probably be the last one standing and he'd take over that Iron Island. Or the... whatever their islands are.
Iron Islands.
Yeah, okay, I was right.
Who else is alive? Missandei and Grey Worm die. Bran turns into a tree.
Yeah, dude, he probably does.
Ghost dies.
Oh, man.
Ghost definitely dies.
All the other ones did. All the other wolves.
And then one's left Nymeria, but we already said goodbye to Nymeria. She's
that's what makes sense about Arya saying she would go off into nothing. But I think after she finishes her list, like I think Arya is gonna kill Cersei as Jaime. Because Jaime's going to already be killed by Bronn. But we won't know that. Until after Arya turns back into Arya. And she'll kill Cersei. She'll run off. Because she doesn't want to be queen of anything. She'll say, fuck this. And she'll go live with Nymeria.
I think that she recognized that she was done with Nymeria whenever she sees her.
Yeah, she said that, like, you have a family here.
Yeah, I don't think that she would go seek her out again.
Yeah, but having her just disappear and go back to nothing.
She just becomes a traveling assassin, or just like a adventurer, or whatever.
Okay.
Because kind of all she ever wanted to do anyways was just to see things and be adventurous and know how to fight and stuff like that. Yeah.
She never wanted to be married off, which was her role, pretty much.
Right, she didn't ever want to be a, princess or a lady.
Yeah.
Who else can I kill? Who else is alive? Those, they're not elves, but those fucking, swamp kids that helped Bran out. They're both dead, right?
No, one of them, isn't the girl still alive?
The boy's dead, because he dies whenever they meet the children of the forest. But yeah, what happens to the girl? Does she make it out as well, or does she die? I can't remember. If she's alive, she dies. I'm killing her.
She... could have sworn she got Bran back.
Sam dies. Gilly dies. Little Sam dies.
Dude, I bet... dude, honestly, if Jon dies, Sam's gonna take over, like, the new Night's Watch.
Yeah, that's probably... Yeah, and Sam doesn't die. Sam says... I just started killing everybody because I thought it was funny. But
it is funny, but...
no, yeah, Sam stays alive. Sam reinstates the Night's Watch, or... just whatever. He does something like that.
Do you think Jon will ever take the name Targaryen?
No, I think he stays Snow.
I think he dies as Snow, yeah.
What else can we say and end up being wrong about?
Oh, dude, yeah. All of my predictions are going to be wrong. I thought Baelish was going to win. Like, I thought he had a great shot of winning, too. Just because he's so, like, cunning and he came from nothing. And, like, he's self-made.
Yeah. I mean, I know that was a pretty popular opinion, but he never actually had anything. Every success that he had was based solely on being able to use other people's resources. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, so at the beginning of the series, we're led to believe that he's got all this money because he runs all these whorehouses, and that's why he's the master of coin and all sort of stuff. But if he's got all this money, why does all his shit up in the fingers actually suck? Like, when they describe it in the book, whenever we see it in the show, it's like, there's like nothing there. Mm-hmm. And obviously he's never there either, so like maybe he doesn't care. But like he never actually gets anything until he marries in the Eyrie, which then not immediately falls apart, but that's like the only time that he ever actually gains anything. And then he's trying to parlay that into gaining more of the North because by then he's betrayed the Lannisters or whatever. Mm-hmm. But because he never actually had anything and was only ever to progress using others' resources, he would have either had to have killed everybody or it was inevitable that he was going to die. Because he would never be able to... You can't play every single person into killing every single other person because at some point everybody's going to realize that, oh, you just want us all to kill each other, you know? Yeah. So I never thought that he was actually going to make it too far. Okay. I thought he made it further than he had any right to. I think they needed him around to have a convenient reason for the Eyrie to show up at the Battle of the Bastards. I would have imagined him to have died sooner than that if he hadn't gone back south to just dick around in King's Landing for a while longer. But he was a character that people loved because he was so bad. Yeah. Except for his continually devolving accent.
That's so funny. Yeah, his accent was so...
just changed every season. Yeah. It continually was getting like weirder and weirder and more Christian Bale Batman.
Whatever you do with your I feel like it's so airy.
It was
and
so strange.
What are you doing, Jon Snow?
It was the weirdest thing. It just got weirder and weirder and weirder. I don't know that I ever had any real predictions about who ends up on the throne. I think I used to think that... I used to back Dany more, but she just continually got worse and worse and worse and made me angrier and angrier.
Me too.
Just because she's got no direction and no real conviction. She doesn't stand for anything except for becoming Queen of the Seven Kingdoms.
And these are kingdoms that she has no loyalty to. She didn't even grow up there. Like what we were talking about earlier, she's just obsessed with it being
her birthright, supposedly. So I think that maybe she has some sort of character crisis whenever she finds out that Jon's actually the heir. Mm-hmm. Because then she doesn't have the birthright, which was the only thing that she ever cared about. Yeah. So maybe she has some sort of character crisis and it'll be an interesting plot device, but I don't know.
Yeah, I can't imagine them, like, breaking up. They're not even really together, but I can't imagine them, like... I mean, he rode her dragon, like, he's in.
And she rode his. I don't know what happens between them. I don't know what happens anywhere. Everything is so potentially... It's not as complicated as it used to be, but... There's still so much happening and there's still so many things that are going on. I don't see how they tie it up neatly without just killing everybody. Yeah. Because that's how you solve a complicated problem, is just kill the parties involved.
There's going to be conflict for sure when Jon, like, tells her his birthright or whatever, like, and that's going to cause them... There's going to be like a whole episode where they're, like, debating whether or not they're, like, even still friends properly. And then it's probably going to be one of those things, like, last episode, like, I'm sorry we fought. And then he dies. But he apologized before he did.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I think I just want everybody to be dead. I think that's how I want this show to end. I think I've been so dissatisfied with this show for so long that I now am the Night King and just want to watch it all burn down.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a very realistic ending. And that's what this series is. It's very realistic. That could so happen. I'm not even kidding. Like, in my mind, I could see that happening.
It seems like the most likely thing, but that's such a common thing with storytelling, is that the problem seems insurmountable and then the heroes figure out how to do it, you know? Mm-hmm. That's how storytelling works. So, of course, the Night King seems unstoppable right now, and that's why the characters feel like he's unstoppable, because he's supposedly unstoppable, but then something happens and they figure it out.
Oh, Dany probably got pregnant. Like, she's probably pregnant, and then they probably get in a huge fight about who's actually king, and then she has the kid, and then they both die, and the kid becomes king.
Yeah, that's why Varys sticks around so that he can groom the new king. Maybe Tyrion doesn't die, and that becomes his life's mission, is to help this new Targaryen ascend to the throne.
And Sam is rebuilding the Night's Watch still.
Yeah.
He still does that.
Those are the only three that survive. Maybe Sansa survives and stays in the north. Sansa survives.
I think she'll survive.
Tyrion becomes a wet nurse. The spider stays the spider. And Sam rebuilds the wall.
And a little Ned Targaryen, their son, that he named it poetically after his uncle.
Ned Targaryen.
Nedard. That's his full name.
There's Eddard.
Neddard? Is that a name?
No, it's just Eddard. Eddard was Ned's name.
Oh, and they called him Ned?
Yeah, I don't know why.
I thought they called him Nedard for some reason. Eddard makes more sense.
There's Eddard Stark, and for some reason his nickname was Ned. Just add an N to the beginning.
It's better than Ed. King Ed. King Ned doesn't sound much better though.
Right, that just sounds kind of stupid. It all sounds stupid. This show is stupid.
Yeah. Oh man, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited at least just to talk about it and have these episodes run on Mondays. I guess there's nothing really to speak to that. I was going to say speaking to that and then hope that I had something to say logistics-wise about these episodes, but I don't.
I think that we picked a good book to kind of go along with them, because there's been a lot of politics and stuff so far in the book.
Yeah, there's a little bit more intrigue, at least in the beginnings of the current book, which obviously we'll be talking to y'all about on Wednesday. We'll be talking about it here within the next couple of hours here. About to just jump into that. We're going to finish it before Game of Thrones finishes, and we'll have to find something to after that.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see y'all back next week with more Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And prior to that, we'll see y'all in a couple of days with our current book, Descendant of the Crane, which so far is really good.
Yeah.
Or at least it's enjoyable. I don't know that it's really good. I think it's just a new universe, and a new universe is exciting.
Yeah.
We'll see how the rest of it plays out, and we'll also talk about that in that episode. There's no reason to start talking about that now. We're going to do a whole nother episode about it. So we'll see y'all in a couple of days, and we'll see y'all next week, and then we'll see y'all in a couple of days from then, and so on and so forth until Game of Thrones is over. Maybe we'll stick with the 2 episodes a week if we can find something else to do it on.
Yeah.
But, we'll come to that when we come to that. Until then, I'm Will Hedrick.
I'm Jordan Schaffer.
This is Dog Ears and Timestamps. Go Rockets!